So given that we're in the process of you buying companies as we speak right now, it sort of begs the question, what are the type of things that you're interested in buying? Which begs the question, so what the hell does Broadcomm do in the first place? Everybody knows Broadcomm, but more people don't know what they're actually doing. And I checked, I read some of your recent, Ks or Qs or whatever these things are. And it's interesting, I've been speaking for a long time about this age of smart everything. And there I read that none other than you, Broadcomm, have copyrighted Connect Everything. That's pretty good. That's like copywriting part of the English language, I guess. But is that really what you guys do, connect everything?
Well, that's what we try to do. I mean, I think there's some other great slogans other companies have. Some companies have connecting everyone or connecting people. Those are good slogans.
But those are lame compared to.
But we connect
actually,
devices.
all those are lame.
And actually, if you think about Broadcomm, our goal is to be #1 in communication semiconductors, and that's wired and wireless combined. And if you think about our company, we have a unifying technology, and that technology is encoding information, transmitting it, and decoding it. And that's what communication really is about. And so all of our products, all of the things we do, focus on that as the core technology. If you look at our central engineering team, we believe we have world-class experts in how do you encode technology, transmit it, and decode it again. And all the products we do, or almost all the products we do, embody some part of that kind of technology, unifying theme.
So help me out with something, which is, obviously we're all very cognizant of the fact that not only everybody is connected, but also the amount of data that is being transmitted is going up radically with video, high definition, you name it. You throw on top of that the Internet of Things, where literally your toaster, your dog, and whatever else all communicates too. I get this notion of, are we going to run out of bandwidth? What's the real story here?
Well, I think we're always out of bandwidth, but it's a little bit like Moore's Law. We're always we always figure out how to get more. And so if you go back a long time ago, back in the days of AM radio, people were worried because, you could only have so many radio stations, and each one transmitted across the whole country. And, then they invented smaller ones. They invented FM.
Give me a number. I mean, I got the fact that we got beyond AM, right?
But look, look. But look, we're going to use the spectrum more efficiently. I think one of the great opportunities for our industry is that spectrum is scarce. Okay, and therefore
it is scarce.
It is always scarce.
Well, that's the point.
It is always scarce, and in fact, it will be scarce up to the limit of what you can do with the technology. And as you have more breakthroughs in technology, you can use more spectrum. So, for example,
but seriously, I actually don't know how close are we to. We'll talk about Moore's Law in a minute, and you can clearly feel that there is some pushing on the edge, right? About bandwidth.
Well, anybody who tries to use their iPhone in New York knows we're out of spectrum.
Well, yeah, that's Netflix.
Yeah.
And so,
by the way, I love it. On those unlimited plans, you can sit there over a 3G network and watch your Netflix movies, okay, and use 2 gigabytes of data transfer. Okay, how many phone calls? That's equivalent to a zillion phone calls. Okay, and you only pay what, $50 a month for that? That's good.
Okay, now you introduce a new notion, which is paying. Business models. Who makes the money? What's going to change?
Well, that's why the unlimited plans are going away, because people think it's really cool to watch Netflix movies on their iPads over the 3G network.
Well, but if you pay $50 for phone calls and you're doing the equivalent of a bazillion phone calls, you should pay a bazillion bucks, right? What's actually going to happen here?
Well, I think people have to eventually go to charging what, something proportionate to what they cost. You can't have people that use a lot of resources and don't pay for it. So I think you're going to see a constant adjustment of business models to reflect cost of content, cost of bandwidth, cost of capital that they have to put in the business. Those are 3 major drivers of that.
Well, if you have ever caught your kids roaming, you know that can go pretty fast.
Absolutely.
But fundamentally, back to the overall business model. Clearly, you're at the center of a food chain. To connect everything, the food chain has many layers, from the phone guys, from the guys doing apps, and so on. And as we heard before, all the venture capital guys is, why don't you do the next Yahoo, Google, what have you? Where's the money going to go, and how do we maintain that food chain to be healthy?
Well, I think a couple things tied together. First of all, for us as an industry, it's absolutely important to continue to drive down the cost of communications. There's an unlimited appetite for consumption of bandwidth. And anybody who's looked at a great image on an HD TV, beautiful 1080p image, why can't you have that on your portable device? Driving content and quality. On the other hand, It's also nice to drive the lowest cost points down so we can connect devices. We can have smart appliances. We can have all your light bulbs, know when to turn on and adjust energy and things like that. I think creating extremely low-cost semiconductor solutions for connectivity that use minute amounts of bandwidth is just as interesting as the things that use extreme amounts of bandwidth. And in aggregate, of course, they'll consume much more spectrum. But our job as engineers in this industry is to figure out how to utilize more spectrum. For example, the 60 gigahertz band is now opening up. Technologically, it really wasn't possible to use the 60 gigahertz band. It was just too expensive to create anything there. But I think 60 gigahertz is going to be exciting. Those of you who use Wi-Fi today, and imagine if you could transfer an entire HD movie in a relatively short period of time, or do a sync with your laptop extremely quickly. Those are things that we can do, getting up to higher frequencies and higher performance.
So the challenge I find with that is, so much ends up sort of on this topic of entertainment, and you can say, well, the more unemployment, the more entertainment people want, but that's actually, unfortunately, a very depressing outlook. Maybe
why is it depressing? Entertainment pays the bills. I mean, I don't know. Look, for most of semiconductors, if it weren't for entertainment, it would go away.
Yes, but unemployment is a major challenge.
Well, the unemployed people have more time for entertainment.
No, I understand how it works. I think the challenge is going to be how do we ultimately utilize all of this technology to potentially address some of the broader issues that Dan Niles, I think, incredibly well highlighted, which is fundamentally a Western economy that has achieved the standard of living on the basis of an enormous amount of debt. And so you can say, okay, well, that's not our problem. And partially it's not our problem, and partially it is our problem because, we are intellectual leaders of the thinking, and, we have to participate in that somehow. And so when you say, okay, we can smarten the home, for example, I'm immediately thinking, yeah, well, that's a major mission for power, for example, for ecology, and we need some things that are beyond just entertainment. Entertainment may fuel the bills. I'm with it. But that bigger picture is actually pretty scary. Are you not worried?
Well, of course I'm worried. I mean, anybody who sat through Dan's talk ought to be worried. I mean, the economy is going over a cliff.
But you mentally are there before Dan's talk, right? I mean, this is not news.
Yeah, I think so. But, even in the 1930s and when we had a depression in this country, there was still innovation going on. There were still people inventing new things, selling new things. And I think we, as an industry, both need to continue to innovate. There will be people who still buy things. We can also innovate in areas where we improve energy consumption, where we improve the cost of doing things. We can reduce costs. And I think even in a down economy, people will buy things, and we can also focus on things that solve problems, and the problems may shift a little bit. People will become more cost conscious.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, people are probably not going to buy the $5,000 TV sets as much. And if you look at the industry right now, the high-end TV business has gone completely flat. Okay. You look at all the companies in that business selling TVs. It's terrible business right now because the consumers are just not buying those kind of things.
Or they decided that the computer is the TV, which is true for many kids today.
It is true. I think a lot of people are going to go to different form factors to consume media and entertainment going forward. Yeah,
and actually it's sort of interesting, the announcement of Amazon, which, while heralded partially as just a cheaper pad, the reality is this is a purchasing engine, right?
Well, I think, Amazon has done a great thing. I think both they have a lot of business models that make sense to drive it. They can basically offer a tablet at near cost, and they have a business model that will allow them to still make money on that. Okay, right. So I think that's a very interesting way to do it by driving a different business model there. But also it's a very interesting tablet. Any of you who have Kindles, okay, a Kindle is extremely lightweight. If all you want to do is read a book, okay, I can't think of anything better than a Kindle because it's lightweight. You can hold it in one hand. You can push your thumb. You can change the pages with your thumb. You can read it on the beach in bright sunlight, and the battery lasts forever. I mean, it's a very optimized device for reading a book. And on the other hand, it probably doesn't play games very well and other things. It's not a good tool for surfing the internet, but it's an optimized tablet for that particular form factor. So I think one of the things we're going to see is much more of a diversification of the devices we carry with us to optimize for particular tasks that you want to do.
Well, so if that's the direction things take, certainly it matters greatly who you team up with, right? Because then the vertical chain you're part of determines your success. If you have a great chip in a bad device, it goes nowhere, and a great device in a bad network goes nowhere, et cetera, et cetera. You need to have sort of these vertical alignments. To what extent does a company like Broadcom actually proactively understand end markets, and how do you go about that?
We believe that any company who wants to sell chips needs to not only understand your customers, but understand your customers' customers. Because sometimes even your customers don't understand their customers. You have to understand that and have to get good at that. And so that's important. And obviously you can't have perfect knowledge of that, but you need to make an effort to do that. And that's what marketing people should be paid for, is to understand, again, not just your customers, but their markets as well. At Broadcom, our goal is to work with all the people we think are doing cool devices. Yeah. And get in as many of those as you can. It reduces your risk and gives you more opportunity.
So if you look at the end markets, what excites you? Where's your wow meter for stuff that you guys are looking at?
I think there are a lot of exciting markets right now. I think the whole portable electronics market is going to be just amazing over the next 5 years. And there's a whole bunch of trends going on right now. There's lower cost. There's all kinds of user interface innovation going on, better screen technology. There'll probably be better voice technology. The location technology is very interesting, where you can use knowledge of where you are. Of course, some of us don't like this idea, but you can find out there's a pizza on sale nearby. That's a plus and a minus. If you really wanted a pizza and want the cheapest one, that's great. And if you didn't want that ad right now, that's not so great. But I think combining a lot of those technologies is going to deliver a lot of good stuff, as well as, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack, I want help. Somebody can find me within 10 feet. Okay, I think that's also very, good kind of technology.
So the fact is, it's a lot of systemic integration that is enabled by technology, but requires understanding, so the bigger picture, understanding the software, understanding the other partners.
Absolutely. The complexity of the electronics that's going to go in these portable devices will zoom, because the number of different technologies and cores, okay, there'll be many tens or hundreds of technologies you need to get into one device, and there's a real advantage in being able to integrate those kinds of technologies, and that's a thesis we believe is very important going forward.
Integration, that's Moore's law by definition for most of it, not all of it, but much of it. Mm-hmm. And in many ways one could say, well, Moore's law is slowing down in terms of its financial return. The next transistor was not half the price anymore, but from an integration point of view, it's still continuing, right? More Absolutely. Transistor and so on. In that context, FinFETs, does it even hit your radar scope? Is that a technology problem that you as a CEO are not concerned about?
One of the things I think we have to worry about is that if you integrate everything that everybody wants into a single device, you need a car battery to power it. Okay,
and so heavy, right?
Heavy, yeah. Awkward, yeah. Lead.
Lead, yes.
So I think one of the things we need to do is constantly be pushing process technology, because when I started off early in my career, one of the guys who built, I did software back then, and one of the guys who built hardware, we always talked about how they were doing great new hardware, and he says, I never underestimate the ability of software guys to piss away all the extra horsepower we deliver to them.
And it's still true. It's still true.
It's still true.
We're one of them.
And software will consume whatever hardware capabilities you can throw at it. So we can have 100 cores running at 100 MIPS, 100 gigabits per second. It doesn't matter. Software will find something to do with all of that horsepower. And so the more we can enable more computing for lower power, okay, we will find interesting things to do with it that we have not yet treated as common. I mean, if you told somebody 10 or 20 years ago that you're going to take 100 megabits per second, 100 megacycles per second of processor power just to see if somebody might touch the screen, okay, I mean, they would go, what do you mean? That's a supercomputer just to sit around and wait to see if somebody touches the screen because they might want to move something. But, we have that capability now, and we will take that for granted going forward. So we really need the process guys, and I know we have a lot of partners in the room in the foundry business and stuff like that. Please push those process generations. We need more, faster process, and cheap wafers.